All right, thanks, guys. We are currently 5-1 in our last 6 board member package plays on patreon.com/Brock Page. We're also 4-1-1 in our last 6 NBA package plays on that website as well. Link for that site is in the description section below. That is patreon.com/Brock Page. All right, let's go ahead and dive into Friday's college basketball action. Happy Friday, everybody. The weekend is finally here. All right, let's begin with Davidson taking on Auburn, 6 o'clock Eastern tip-off at Alumni Hall. Auburn's minus 2.5, total 145 and a hook. Pretty good two-way action on this game. Not a whole lot of movement on this side. We did see a little bit of movement upward on the total. I've got to assume that there's probably a lot of action on this game. But anyway, Auburn open and remains minus 2.5, total open 145, up to 145 and a hook. 52% of the consensus are leaning toward Auburn, 53% shaded toward the over. Right now, Davidson's plus $1.30 on the money line. I do like Auburn in this matchup here. I'm going to purchase the hook, buy it down, and take Auburn minus 2 and the under 145.5 in that game. Next matchup, Arkansas State, Ole Miss, 7 o'clock Eastern tip-off at the Ole Miss Pavilion. Ole Miss is minus 21.5, total 146 and a hook. We saw a 1-point move toward Ole Miss and movement downward on the total. Ole Miss opened 20.5, up to minus 21 and a hook. Total open 147, down to 146.5. I like the road dog in this one. I'm also going to purchase the hook, buy it up, and take Arkansas State plus 22 and the over 146.5 in that game. Next matchup, Eastern Kentucky taking on the Wildcats, 7 o'clock Rupp Arena. Kentucky's minus 28, totals at 149. Now, actually, we saw a 3.5-point fade of Kentucky in the early wagering. We also saw movement downward on the total. The Wildcats opened 31.5, all the way down to minus 28. Total open 149.5, down to 149 even. I'm going to lean toward Kentucky getting the job done here. Give me the Wildcats minus 28 and the over 149 in that game. And before we go ahead and move on, just want to take another quick timeout and welcome you to the show. Got some lines of personal leans out for Friday's college basketball action. But before we get into some more of that, I just want to quickly remind you to check me out on my website at patreon.com/Brock Page, where we are 5-1 in our last 6 board member package plays on that site. We're also 4-1-1 in our last 6 NBA package plays on that site as well. We do daily plays on that website beginning at just $1.99 per month. We have a bunch of different memberships, tiers, and packages that you can subscribe to. You can also check out my record for free right on the homepage. The difference between Patreon and this program right here on YouTube is that what we do on YouTube is handicap the entire slate. We formulate a pick and an opinion on every side and total on the slate. Well, if you bet that way, you're going to lose. You cannot beat the books. You cannot beat the math. If you bet every single game, side, and total, it's not going to happen. What we do on Patreon is we really focus in. We dial in on 4 to 5 premium selections. They're my personal plays. They're games that I personally have action on. So anyway, that's the difference between Patreon and YouTube. And I'll tell you this much. My winning percentage and my record on Patreon is a lot better than it is on YouTube, handicapping every single game. So anyway, link for that site is in the description section below. That is patreon.com/Brock Page. All right, let's go ahead and get into some more lines of personal leans. All starts Eastern Standard Time. And on deck, we've got Loyola Chicago taking on Furman, 7 o'clock Timmons Arena. The Paladins of Furman are minus 4.5, totals 130 and a hook. We actually saw a 1.5-point fade of Furman and movement upward on the total. The Paladins open minus 6, down to 4.5. Total open 129.5, up to 130 and a hook. I like Furman in this spot here at home. Really don't understand the fade. Maybe because folks are familiar with the Loyola name. I really don't know. But I like Furman in this spot here. So I'm going to purchase the 0.5 point, slide it down, and take the Paladins of Furman minus 4 and the under 130 and a hook in that game. Next matchup, Illinois Chicago taking on Memphis, 7 o'clock FedEx Forum. Memphis is minus 18, total 156.5. Saw a 1.5 point move toward Memphis and movement downward on the total. Memphis opened 16.5 up to 18. Total open 157.5 down to 156 and a hook. 71% of the consensus are leaning toward Memphis, 70% shaded toward the under. And at the moment, Illinois-Chicago plus 16.25 for an outright win. I am not predicting upset. I'm going to lean toward Memphis minus 18 and the under 156.5 in that game. Next matchup, Bowling Green taking on LSU, 8 o'clock Maravich Center. LSU's minus 13.5, total 157 and a hook. So a half a point move toward LSU and movement upward on the total. The Tigers open 13 up to 13.5. Total open 154.5 up to 157 and a hook. 69% are leaning Tigers. 65% shaded toward the under. Right now, Bowling Green is plus 900 on the money line. LSU minus 13 is what I'm leaning toward after I purchase the hook. Once again, LSU minus 13 and the under 157.5 in that game. Next matchup, it is going to be the Norse of Northern Kentucky taking on Missouri, 8 o'clock Mizzou Arena. Missouri's 13.5, totals 140. Saw a 2.5 point move toward Missouri. We also saw movement upward on the total. Mizzou open 11 up to 13.5. Total open 139 up to 140. 62% are leaning Missouri. 54% shaded toward the over. Right now, the Norse plus 675 on the money line. I like the Norse in this spot here. I'm going to purchase a half a point, buy it up, and take Northern Kentucky plus 14 and the under 140 in that game. Next matchup, ECU taking on the Midshipmen. 8:30 tip-off at Navy. ECU's minus 1 on the road, total 135.5. We actually saw a half a point fade of ECU and a lot of movement downward on the total. 3-point move downward on the total. So once again, East Carolina open 1.5 down to minus 1. Total open 138.5 down to 135 and a hook. 65% are leaning ECU. 66% shaded toward the under. Right now, Navy's plus 102 on the money line at home. Navy catching plus money at home. I really don't care about it. I'm leaning ECU minus 1 on the road and the over 135.5 in that game. Next matchup, UNC Greensboro taking on Kansas. 9 o'clock Allen Fieldhouse. The Jayhawks are 14.5, total 140. Saw a 2-point fade of Kansas and movement downward on the total. A lot of movement downward on the total. Maybe a recency bias. Not really sure, but Kansas opened 16.5 all the way down to minus 14.5. Total open 144 and a hook, down to 140. 72% are leaning Jayhawks. 63% shaded toward the over. Right now, UNC Greensboro is plus 1025 on the money line. If you like UNC Greensboro in this matchup here, I am not on the same side as you. I'm going to lean Kansas minus 14 after buying the hook and the over 140 in that game. Next matchup, Illinois taking on GCU. That's Grand Canyon University. You've seen all the commercials on TV. Didn't actually even know it was a real campus. But anyway, Illinois is minus 6 in this 9 o'clock tip-off at the GCU Arena. Totals at 147.5. We saw a half a point move toward Illinois, movement downward on the total. The Fighting Illini open 5.5 up to minus 6. Total open 148 down to 147 and a hook. 66% are leaning Illinois, 61% shaded toward the under. Right now, GCU is plus 250 on the money line. I like Illinois in this matchup here. Give me the Fighting Illini minus 6 and the over 147.5 in that game. Next matchup, Baylor taking on Washington, 9:30 Eastern tip-off in that game. The Bears are minus 5, total 137. Saw a half a point fade of Baylor and movement downward on the total. The Bears open 5.5 down to minus 5, total open 140 down to 137. 67% are leaning Baylor, 81% shaded toward the under. Right now, Washington is plus 185 for an outright upset win on the money line. For some money line cash, I'm going to lean Baylor minus 5 over 137. And we're going to slide into our next and final matchup for the show. It is going to be Arizona State taking on Colorado. 10:30 Eastern tip-off in that game. The Buffaloes are -5, total 146. Saw a 1-point fade of Colorado and movement downward on the total. The Buffaloes open 6, down to -5, total open 147, down to 146. 63% are leaning Colorado, 84% shaded toward the under. Right now, Arizona State's +205 on the money line. I like Colorado -5 and the over 146 in that game. All right, let's go ahead and slide into our quick pick recap brought to you by patreon.com/BrockPage. I like Colorado -5 over 146. Baylor -5 over 137. Illinois -6 over 147.5. Kansas -14 over 140. ECU, East Carolina University -1 over 135 and a hook. Northern Kentucky +14 under 140. LSU Tigers -13 under 157.5. Memphis -18 under 156 and a hook. Furman Paladins -4 under 130.5. Kentucky -28 over 149. Arkansas State +22 over 146.5. And last but certainly not least, Auburn Tigers -2 under 145 and a hook. All right, guys, let's go ahead and slide into some shout-outs brought to you by patreon.com/BrockPage. Shout out to the Frozen Gamer, Rob D, Billy Boogaloo, Ladietrick Hampton, Ray Wienert, Mr. Bet, Shotgun Shell 80, Stephen Lewis, Ulysses Hayes, Nell God 206, Evil Dak, Vinny Smooth, Dominique Hughes, Julian Garcia, Bo Dunn, Buck in here, and last but certainly not least, shout out to Danny J. All right, guys, that's going to do it for me. Once again, don't forget to check me out on patreon.com/BrockPage. We're 5-1 in our last 6 board member package plays on that site. We're also 4-1-1 in our last 6 NBA package plays as well. We do different plays on that site. We have a bunch of different memberships, tiers, and packages beginning at just $1.99 per month. Now, the difference between Patreon and this YouTube channel is that what we do here on YouTube is handicap every single game. We formulate a pick and an opinion on the side and the total on every single game. Well, guys, if you're betting that way, you're going to lose every single time. That's no way to make money. You can't bet every single game, every single side and total. The books are too good. They're too smart. They're going to bury you. The math is too good. What we do on Patreon is we really focus in and dial in on 3 to 4 plays, sometimes 5 to 6 plays, but they're my personal plays. They're games that I personally have action on. And we're just a little bit more focused in picking our spots on that site. And guys, my win percentage, my record on that site is far superior than it is on YouTube. It's much better. And you can actually check out my current record right on the homepage. All you got to do is click the link in the description section below. That is patreon.com/BrockPage. But most importantly, guys, I got to thank you for watching me right here on YouTube. I really hope you enjoyed all this great free content, all this great free information. Happy Friday to you. The weekend's finally here. Best of luck to you. And don't forget to check me out on patreon.com/BrockPage.